my name is Sanna and now I'm testing the relatively new admin site tool in Oskari. I'm using the Oskari demo site, which is an Oskari setup that everyone can try out without their own Oskari installation. You can use the test passwords found actually from the start help. Remember that all information is deleted from the demo site during the night, so don't store any crucial datasets here. So I'm already logged into the demo Oskari, and I can now start adding new layers, new themes and new data providers to the map layers. I'll add a new data provider called the test data provider. So as you can see, Oskari supports different languages, and here you could add the data provider in English, Finnish, Swedish and Spanish. But let's use only English here. Now there is a new data provider in the list. There. I can add also new themes. So these are categories where my data sets can belong. I'll add two new themes, traffic and another called population. There. After this, I can proceed to add some new layers. Oskari supports different standard interfaces like Web Map Service, Web Map Tile Service, Web Feature Service, and you can also add layers coming from Cesium, Mapbox or Bing. If these are not familiar to you, I suggest you read on how to create, for example, VMS services with GeoServer or similar map services. In short, there are different ways to provide interfaces for your data. First, I'll add a global web map service from SEDAC, a socio-economic data and application center. I'll copy the URL from the VMS example and add it to the form like this. Now you can choose the VMS versions. Since there are quite a lot of different layers, the query might take a while. I could search for the certain dataset by name, but I'll use the correct name from the wanted layer from SEDAC's pages, so I'll find it more swiftly. There. The VMS usually supports multiple coordinate systems, but in our case the demo site can show only two different coordinate systems. Now I can change the default name for the layer. I'll just change it to something more sensible. And then I can assign the correct data provider we created before. So the test data provider. And in the last section, the wanted theme, in this case the population. When finishing the first sheet, remember to go up again and proceed to the next sheet. With VMS, there are not so many possibilities for visualization, but you can add some transparency to the layer if wanted. Now I can proceed to the additional information sheet, where the service picks the correct path for the metadata site. This information is provided in the VMS Get Capabilities query. You can also change the update rate if the data is available in real time, and you can also add a default legend URL. In the next phase, you can assign the role-based access rights to your map layers. So the layer visibility can be restricted to a certain group. So now I can add the VMS-based layer to the map, and I should find it under population in the map layer list. There. So population density in 2000, available as VMS in our demo site. But let's add a VFS example next. It was a bit difficult to find proper VFS interface examples that are worldwide and small enough in size to fit our purposes, so I'll use one more familiar to me. the open data from Finnish Traffic Management Agency Väylävirasto. They have opened a lot of interesting datasets and will use their VFS for this. First, I'll find the suitable layer from the list, which is quite extensive and it takes a while to download all the possibilities. So I'll find a layer called laiturit, which is something we can use. It means peers. Otherwise, the procedure is quite similar as for adding VMS layers. But in the visualization sheet, we have slightly more options for visualizations than for the VMS layers. So there is an option for clustering. The peer layer is a point dataset, so I can try the clustering method for it and add some tolerance for the point clustering. But after this, you can proceed quite similar way as for adding the VMS layers, add additional information if needed, and user rights. So now we can check how it looks like and did the clustering method work. First, we should toggle probably the population density layer out of the way and zoom in to the correct extent where our peers can be seen. And now it's zoomed to Finland, but let's go to the archipelago so we can see and check if we can find some peers. So there. As you can see, there are some overlapping points on top of each other. I don't know if it's a data related thing. Maybe some duplicate values on the same spot. But the clustering method is working, and there's even a cluster of 11 peers that you can zoom in, and the clustering method works quite nicely. One last thing I want to show you is how to add 3D data to Oskari. You can see how the 3D side is used from our previous videos, but here I'll use a ready-made data from Cesium. They have all the buildings from OpenStreetMap in 3D available freely for testing, so let's use it. It needs a asset ID and a token from Cesium. I have already signed in to Cesium service and I can now find the asset ID from there. So let's copy that to Oskari, to the asset ID, and then I need the token. And I'm using their default token, but you can also create your own through Cesium site. So let's copy paste that there. And again, you can proceed in a similar way to the end, adding name to the layer, like 3D buildings, and assign the data provider, wanted theme. And then go to visualization, additional information and permissions. And add that to the map. And it can be found now under the buildings. But since it's a 3D dataset, it cannot be shown in the 2D view. So let's change the view and zoom in. Oskari warns me about that there are some layers that are not shown in 2D, so I can just make them invisible and change the background map also. So we can see something. And then let's try to zoom into Helsinki, Finland, and see if we can find some 3D buildings. And I have to say I don't live in Helsinki, so the first try with zooming apparently failed. Where is Helsinki? Where are the buildings? Oh, there it is. And voila! There are the three 3D buildings from Cesium and OpenStreetMap. You can change the 3D view by pushing Ctrl and panning with your mouse. Ta-da! And this is how you add datasets to Oskari if you have admin side rights. Thank you for listening.